So, Morny, who's next?
Up next is Drake. I am pulling them in now.
Drake, how you doing, bro? Drake, can you hear us?
Yo, what's happening?
Good on you, bro. Good on you.
I just changed my question.
That's fine, bro. What's your question, man?
With all the stuff going on that we've seen on the beta for the leadership of the Black Dragonflight, who really has the right to lead, and why is it Ebonhorn?
Wow, you're kind of painting me into a corner there, right? Okay, so I'm not entirely sure about all the stuff that's happening on the beta. I've stayed away from the beta very specifically this time around because I'm doing a little bit of an experiment with myself. Over the course of the last 5-6 years, I've been participating in every single beta and alpha event that Blizzard had. So I usually, by the time the expansion came out, the story was already spoiled for me, right? I already know the entire story back to front. I've seen everything there is to see, so I'm basically forced to play the game again, even though I've already played it. So this time around, I'm actively spending as little time as possible looking into spoilers and lore spoilers, because I want to see what the game is like when I start it fresh and get that sort of, that first kick when everything is done and the way that it should be experienced. From what I know, and this is just sort of in the lore prior to Dragonflight even, there is a question about Wrathion's legitimacy as the Black Dragonflight aspect. Just because the brood that the clutch that Wrathion came from was a clutch where the Red Dragonflight had quite a lot sort of interfering with, right? They were trying to cleanse those eggs.
Yeah, there's the whole quest line where you cleanse that egg in Badlands.
Yeah, so the Red Dragonflight cleansed his clutch, or tried to cleanse his clutch, and he was the only one that survived. So we kind of have to take their word for it, that he is a pure Black Dragon, when in reality he could be Black Dragon mixed with a little bit of Red, to give the Red Dragonflight even more legitimacy, or maybe even just because the Red Dragonflight were scared that if it remained just a Black Dragon, because there's like a whole slew of really interesting things when, what's his name again? Fuck. The Titan that blessed, that blessed Nalfarian.
Oh no,
oh my god, name just blanked.
Agramar?
No. It's not Agramar. It's is it Norganon? Is it Norganon? Or was it Kaskarath? Oh my god, which Titan fucking blessed? It's Norganon.
The Earthshaper.
Yeah. Norganon. Norganon the Earthshaper was the one that blessed him. And Norganon told him that your blessing seems sort of the lowest of all of the blessings, but in reality, all strength comes from the earth. We all come from the earth, and therefore you will wield all of the strength. And as soon as that blessing was done, it could have been Kaskarath as well, but as soon as that blessing was done, the old gods immediately started talking to Nalfarian. Like, he could instantly feel their presence.
The Titans in their hubris kind of fucked Nalfarian over there.
Yeah, they literally gave him a ticking time bomb, didn't warn him that, hey, by the way, bro, just be careful of these guys. They're kind of fucked, right? It was Kaskarath. Okay, thank you so much, Abaddon. Yes, Kaskarath. I knew it was either Norganon or Kaskarath. I just couldn't fucking remember which one. But okay, so it could be that the Red Dragonflight was sort of afraid of letting a Black Dragon just roam free, and they may have fucked around a little bit. So you have those two. You have Ebonhorn and you have Nalfarian, both with a legitimate claim, I would say. Although, I would actually argue that Ebonhorn's claim is much stronger than Wrathion's. Because Ebonhorn, we know, is directly from a clutch that came from Nalfarian himself.
He was also cleansed with a Titan artifact.
Yeah. So he is probably the purest of all of the Black Dragons. He is the closest. Sabellian, true. So
Sabellian annoys me. He's
Why?
been hiding on Outland this whole time, has done nothing for Azeroth. Whatever you have to say about Wrathion's methods, he is the one who helped defeat N'Zoth. He has taken direct action in assisting, and Sabellian's like, oh yes, but I'm a direct descendant while you're only like a cousin, so you have no right. It's kind of like the shit going on in House of the Dragon, where it's like, oh yes, but that's direct descendant, even though he's a complete dick.
Well,
he's gonna lead and you don't.
So just based on seniority, and that's usually how aspects are chosen, Sabellian is probably the one with the biggest claim to the throne.
Wouldn't Ebonhorn then outrank him? Because we know he was born just after Deathwing's fall.
I don't know. Because, for one, Ebonhorn doesn't seem to want the Mantle of Aspect, right? So Ebonhorn would most likely, this is why I said Sabellian would have it, because Ebonhorn right now, at least based on the lore that I know of, unless something's changed, Ebonhorn doesn't want to be the Aspect. So Ebonhorn would abdicate his throne, even if it was given to him, right? So the true fight becomes between Sabellian and Wrathion. And there, Sabellian outranks Wrathion by quite a bit.
But then Wrathion's done more, so if anything, he's earned it, where Sabellian has shown, but just like his father, he's kind of left the mortal races to their fates.
Maybe, but we also need to learn why Sabellian left. First and foremost, we know that there's a point where Nalfarian left through the gate to Outland. We don't quite know what he did there. We know he hid some eggs there. But Nalfarian may have known that his time is nigh. He may have known that he is going to die, he is going to fall to madness, and that clutch on Outland is the future of the Black Dragon of the Black Dragonflight. And that might be why Sabellian never came back, because Sabellian knew that as long as the old gods were still alive, if they came back, it's fucked. Because the old gods will just immediately sink their teeth straight back into him and just keep pulling and pulling and pulling until they've corrupted him too. So he stayed away, basically to protect Azeroth against the penultimate corruption for the Black Dragons. There is another bit to this that's rather I don't know how Blizzard is explaining this, because I don't think they are. I think Blizzard is just sort of accepting who gives a shit. Pillarsteak, by the way, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that. But Black Dragons, all of them, just by virtue of having that blessing within their bloodline, are supposed to have an incredibly hard time dealing with the old gods. And yet, Wrathion saw only one vision ever of what the old god corruption would do. Sabellian shows no signs. Ebonhorn doesn't really show a lot of signs.
Ebonhorn was going mad in BFA, and we have to get the cure. And Wrathion had spent a long time, including on alternate Draenor, figuring out a way to stop himself falling to that corruption.
Yeah, but you see, that's my problem.
Plus whatever
cure.
The Red Dragons did to pull it off.
Yeah, but you see, that's where my problem comes in. The cure. What cure? The old gods, you have a connection to Azeroth that is untethered. The only cure you could have is either breaking that connection or installing an incredibly powerful, filter, right, between that connection and you to stop the old gods. Because the old god corruption isn't, just random. It's 100% because the Black Dragonflight draws their strength from the earth. The old gods get to corrupt through that connection. So, the cure stuff, it just feels like Blizzard didn't spend enough time thinking about how this corruption would affect each of the Black Dragons. And, how the Black Dragons should have been, there should have been a bigger storyline around the Black Dragons and their sort of penultimate, issue with the Old Gods. Which, sadly, we didn't get.
I wonder if that's something we're gonna get.
Oh, I fucking hope so. That would be so cool.
Because
I really.
Was there any lore to do with Sabellian for the Daggers quest, where Wrathion sends you out to get rid of the last Black Dragons?
Not that I remember.
No, he was basically considered a non-issue because he put the most distance between himself and Azeroth that he could. Wrathion sort of wrote him off as a non-competitor because he was.
But he's regretting that now.
Well, Wrathion is also a bit of a fucking scumbag, which is also the thing that scares me with Wrathion. It doesn't feel like the Black Dragons have very good choices, because, and this is where we get, it's true in real life as well, right? The guy you want as president is the guy that doesn't want to be president. And that's usually how it works. So the one good Black Dragon aspect that we could actually get would be Ebonhorn. But he's also coincidentally the one guy that doesn't fucking want it whatsoever, right? Which is just
if Blizzard follows previous trends, we have the expansion where Wrathion and Sabellian basically bitch at each other the whole time, and then Ebonhorn walks in and tells the children to shut up. He's home and he's the new daddy.
I can see. Sorry, Moni, yeah?
Oh, I was gonna say, I think that the real race is gonna be between Ebonhorn and Wrathion. I think I'm sorry, what was the other dragon?
Sabellian.
Thank you. I think Sabellian is going to be a foil to the race for aspect, because of let's just go ahead and assume that Ebonhorn and Wrathion are cleansed of the old gods. We know that Ebonhorn, the minute he walks off of away from High Mountain, he gets attacked by them. But let's just start from that basis. They're the two pure Black Dragons. Sabellian is still a Black Dragon of Neltharion's bloodline post corruption. I think that right there is going to be the conflict. Sabellian is going to fall and become sort of a mini Deathwing, if you will, or just a minion of the old gods, and then the race is going to be stopping Sabellian from basically recreating the old god corrupted Black Dragonflight.
Yeah, but the problem you would have there is it depends on how alive or dead the old gods actually are. Because according to Blizzard, the old gods are completely dead. They're no longer an issue, at least not on Azeroth. They might still be an issue, cosmos-wide, but not on Azeroth.
The four aren't, but everyone's talking about the possible fifth, and or Xalatath, who, in my opinion, has to be an old god that they conspired to trap at least their soul in the blade.
Well, even then, so Xalatath is a servant of the old gods. I don't think that Xalatath is an old god. If Xalatath was an old god at one point, she would have been absolutely in her infancy, which means they managed to corrupt her before she could ever gain any real power. She got completely fucked. Now, the fifth one, sort of very old. It's actually very old speculation, because way back in Warcraft 3, I think it may have been Warcraft 2, but I think it was Warcraft 3's guide. They spoke about 5 old gods that came to Azeroth. And that's where the sort of 5 stuff come from. But I would say, at least reasonably speaking, we know of 4. 4 have been confirmed And Blizzard have never really spoken up about the fifth. They've never really mentioned that there is a fifth. The Chronicles also only speak of the four. It never mentions anything about a possible fifth. And even if Xal'atath is the fifth, Xal'atath's connection to Azeroth was broken just by design, right? Because they consumed her and placed her essence inside the knife. So Xal'atath would not be able to corrupt any of the Black Dragons. So this would make Sabellian safe-ish, maybe, because there's no more old gods to corrupt them. That, of course, we have to figure out how long corruption actually lasts. Corruption? Sorry?
He's even without the corruption, though, he is still so arrogant and thinks it is his by rights, and he doesn't need to earn it.
Well, yeah.
Which is why I'm like, there's no way I would side with him.
I would say that Sabellian was sort of introduced into the story just to make it more spicy. So you have this three-way tie, and who's going to take it? And then maybe a fourth rises up to make it even more spicy. But 3 is probably enough. I don't think Sabellian has a chance in hell. I think there's going to be... there's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, I don't necessarily believe that his claim is as strong as they say. But more importantly, I think I would be very pissed off at Blizzard's writing if they decide to just bring a character in, like, from left field, let's be honest. Sabellian isn't mainstream lore, right? It's not like everyone knows who this is. And to bring this character in and then suddenly make them the Black Dragon aspect, it's just not going to go over well with the community. It's going to be another Zuval nightmare, where players are just completely confused at what the fuck is going actually on here. So I would be surprised if Blizzard did that. I would far more prefer it if Blizzard went either between Ebonhorn and Wrathion and had that sort of like the crowd favorites, and let's see where this goes, and keep Sabellian as sort of like the antagonist in a way, right? The one that creates some intrigue and sort of urgency, because everyone sees, oh my god, they're actually gonna do it. No, please, Wrathion, Ebonhorn, come on, fucking do it. And then finally, the right... It's... So difficult, though, because who is the right one? I guarantee you now, no matter which one Blizzard chooses for Black Dragon, one half of the community is going to be pissed the fuck off. Like, just guaranteed, Blizzard have created a storyline here just waiting to be a complete and utter fucking nightmare. Right? Now, one of my mods, Andy here, did provide a little bit of something interesting. So this is Sabellian, right? You can see the golden eyes there. And then you have Wrathion here with the red eyes. Now, I do think, Andy, if I'm not mistaken, are you trying to pull connections between the prophecies of the Night Elves, the original look of dragons, or are you just saying that, you know, Wrathion is the rightful, or Sabellian is the rightful? What exactly are you saying? Palestek, how you doing, brother? Thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. And thank you so much for the support, man. It is always appreciated. Pre-end Cataclysm, Uncorrupted Eye Color. So are you making... Andy, why the fuck aren't you just in the voice chat, bro? Why am I supposed to have this conversation with you over text? I don't understand why I have to fucking do this. All of the mods have access to this channel. Why are we having this conversation like this? This makes no sense. Oh, you're taking a shit. Yeah, well, come talk to us while you're pooing, bro. We don't mind. Alright. I can see the point that you're trying to make, although I think it was just aesthetic. I wouldn't look that deeply into it. Personally, I think it should be Ebonhorn, just because I do not trust Wrathion. Not for 1 minute. Wrathion, 8 hearts. Like, Wrathion is so hyped for power. Like, that's all he wants is power. Which, in my opinion, is never a good thing when it comes to leaders. Because any leader that just wants power is gonna spell fucking nightmares for everyone else.
Can I offer a thought that may make your mind explode?
Please.
They are setting up very heavily for the next expansion to be Light versus Void.
Yep.
And for the Inquisition, the Light's Inquisition with Uriel to turn up.
Yeah. Why do you say that? I agree with you, but why do you say that?
Just with the way they're setting it up, especially with Tyrellian on the throne and all of that sort of stuff that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Have a think about this. What if Xal'atath turns up and is our ally against the Light's Inquisition, and Wrathion has to work with Xal'atath?
That is going to be interesting. The problem is just who do the dragons actually join? Because the Light's Inquisition, many people would argue the Light's Inquisition is good. So it would be a very split moment.
They've proven that it's join us or die.
Yeah. The problem is
we
that...
saw in Legion with the way they kind of spun it with Illidan and Prophet Velen.
Yeah.
That the Light's fanatical nature makes it dangerous.
Yeah. Well, the issue is when you talk to community members, and believe me, you can look at the comment section on my videos, I've had this argument to hell and back. The community members will say, oh, you're just pointing out individuals that were fucking nuts following the Light. This is not the Light. This is not the Light's way. Even though it doesn't really matter, but never mind. I can see that. I can see that happening.
We are the peoples of Azeroth, as they are, because of not the Titans, but the old gods. We wouldn't be mortal without the curse of flesh.
True. But then at the same time, we wouldn't even be here without the Titans. So we are kind of, in a way. Yeah, but there's also...
without the Titans.
Just to be clear, there is an argument that I could make for the trolls showing, shall we say, fuckery by the old gods to create ultimately what the trolls is. And also the trolls were sort of the result of...
makes it look like the trolls were connected via the elemental lords. They descend from the elemental planes.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some metaphysical fucking arguments here about what the origins of the universe look like. But even that throws us in the camp of Titan-esque beings, not necessarily Titans as we know them, but Titan-esque beings specifically. So it's all based on speculation because we don't actually know where the trolls come from, right? We have some inklings and some speculation theories and some game bits that kind of prevail, but even if we say, okay, well, the trolls did develop naturally, or, well, naturally is... fuck it, let's say they developed naturally. You still wouldn't have a lot of the other races, right? So you would definitely not have dwarfs, you'd definitely not have gnomes. You'd most likely not have goblins, although you could, but the goblins would be very stupid, because Azeroth is also a Titan, right? So without Azeroth's blood... The goblins would still be stupid fucking basically Murlocs, you know? So they wouldn't be anywhere near what we would consider quote-unquote mortal races. So
You'd have the elves, though.
You would, but then again, the elves is a result of a Titan, because it's due to the blood of Azeroth that the trolls sort of evolved into what would ultimately become the Night Elves. So again, you would have... You'd need a Titan, because without
wouldn't it be the blood of an old god, considering the Night Elves or the Elves evolved around the Well of Eternity, which was where they pulled Yasharaj from?
Yeah, but
just to interject, I would say that it could be either way. As it stands now, though, Accolonn is the one that has the right of things. The Well of Eternity is said to be the lifeblood of Azeroth.
Yeah.
All magic as we know it on Azeroth is from the Titan soul in Azeroth. Yes, the Well of Eternity is the wound that was caused by ripping Y'Shaarj out, but as far as we know, that's the only thing Old God related to the well.
Yeah, it's not so the waters that filled the Well of Eternity, that was the blood of Azeroth that effectively filled that well. But it wasn't the blood of Y'Shaarj that did it. So again, the Night Elves wouldn't be here, and without the Night Elves, you don't get all of the other elves. So that it would be trolls, and then maybe humans? Do we know where the humans come from? I've never actually read anything about it.
The humans are descended from the Vicryll.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The Kultirans are a result of man melding with Vicryll.
Yeah.
So going back lineage a bit.
Yeah, so you're sort of talking about a little bit of fuckery. And yeah, this is WoW lore. And some of it is like metaphysical WoW lore in a way. Like going really deep and balls deep into sort of origin lore, which sometimes in WoW can be a little bit spotty. But yeah, just to answer your original question, and then we'll move on, because I see there's even more people waiting. But I firmly believe that Ebonhorn is the rightful aspect. Firstly, because he is the only dragon that we know of that directly descended from Naltharian's brood, but then also remained on Azeroth, found ways to sort of make himself resistant to Old God corruption as much as possible, and also never turned his back on Azeroth, like you said yourself. He stayed. So I would argue Ebonhorn, and also because he doesn't actually want to be the aspect, which makes him probably the best to be aspect. Wrathion, on the other hand, I don't trust him.
To clarify the eye color thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, both Abyssinian and Sabellian have golden eyes, just like Deathwing, but Wrathion has red eyes. So I think they technically could claim stronger heritage than him, based on a character trait, which is not random. I don't think they would like explicitly force him to have different eye color if it didn't have any meaning. And because like, okay, you can say that he's a newer model than Deathwing was, right? That is a newer NPC and so on. They wanted to make him different. But why then is Ebonhorn and Sabellian, which are newer than him, with the same golden eye color?
Yeah, I can see that. Plus, we know that eye color.
Same time.
Sorry?
Deathwing's model was the same time as Wrathion, because they both got humanoid forms and such in Cataclysm.
But Deathwing, we had sort of images of Deathwing long before Cataclysm, like artwork and
but like
concept
the latest models where we got Deathwing's forms were Cataclysm, and I believe the same patch as Wrathion was first introduced.
Yeah,
or the concept of Wrathion.
And obviously, Deathwing has a cutscene in Dragonflight, and he has golden eyes too.
Yeah. Well, we know that eyes are important. We know this. There's prophecies about eyes and eye color and all that. So we just, by sheer nature, it's not accidental. That we can say with absolute certainty. Wrathion's red eyes isn't accidental. The red could be a sign of red Dragonflight influence on Wrathion, and that's why his eyes are that different color. it's going to be interesting to see, because there is a world in which Alexstrasza very heavily very heavily supports Wrathion for the aspect, because she knows
also has golden eyes. Just so you know.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about the influence that they had, because they cleansed the eggs from which Wrathion was born. So not so much that there's a connection between them, just that whatever they did to those eggs maybe changed what Wrathion is. So it sort of made him a merge of the two Dragonflights. And that might be a stretch, to say the least, but it's still something to consider. And we'll have to wait and see.
To note,
yeah.
The whole Yogg-Saron thing ties into this, because Wrathion was cleansed by the red dragonflight.
Yeah.
The ruby life pools are where all dragon eggs are meant to go to hatch.
Mm-hmm.
The ruby life pools were originally corrupted water that had been corrupted by Yogg-Saron that Galakrons drank from, and finding that the Titans used all of their technology to cleanse it, and more than that, used it to bolster their control over the flights and the flight support of the Titans. Direct quote from direct reference from the book that's turned up on the beta this patch.
Yeah. Blizzard is doing a lot of fucking rewriting of the story, it seems, in Dragonflight, but at least they're fucking around with some of the lore that was less established. So I do like that. I like that they're not fucking too much with established lore and sort of, giving us a little bit more concrete evidence of lore that was less so.
Yeah, they're doing retcons the right way.
Yeah, this is how you should do retcons. Let's hope it continues. Anyways, Drake, thank you so much for the question. This was super fun. I love having these sort of metaphysical, fucking deep lore conversations, especially about stuff that is quite unknown, just by virtue of, the only time we've ever had any real information was War of the Ancients, right? That was like the only real dragon focused lore that we ever got. Since then, it's been drips and drabs.
And
just a bit
all of the
feeling.
aspects.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so all of the aspects. I'd say the aspect series were like the only ones that really gave us some lore stuff for the dragons. Since then, it's been sort of here's a bit, there's a bit. Make whatever the fuck you want with it. So I'm happy to get more dragon stuff and have more discussions about dragons. So I appreciate the question, bro. Take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, man. Hit me up when you're gonna do your 40k Q&A, because I got 20 plus years.
Oh shit!
Of time in 40k, so I'm more than happy to jump in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for the offer, man. Really appreciate it.
See you later.
All right, peace out, bro.